Hey, be prepared not only to see me do an interview, but also to turn back the time. Daylight saving is tomorrow. That means we'll get an hour back in theory. But that extra hour could throw off your schedules and our health, especially if you've got kids and pets. So joining me now is Dr. Adan Alvarez of Luxe, a pharmacy practice in Bellaire, with ways to help you and your family adjust to the time change. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, what are some of the common challenges children face when adjusting to the time change and how these may vary by age?
Well, so a lot of the challenges that kids face during this time has to do with their sleep cycle being off, right? So their sleep patterns are off, and that kind of spills over into the day, so they're more irritable, they have more issues concentrating, they might be, a little fussier during the day. And then as far as how it varies by age, we tend to see that younger kids tend to be impacted more by the time change than older kids, especially if kids are also napping throughout the day. So the strategy is to adjust both the sleep time and the nap time in that population.
So here's what's been crazy though. We had Halloween and the kids were up late. They didn't have school Friday, by the way, so they were up late. They probably were up late again last night. And now we come to Saturday, we're changing the clocks, and you often hear, oh, but you get an extra hour of sleep. But it doesn't work that way, right?
So, no, not exactly. So the strategy behind helping kids, transition easier is actually to start 4 to 5 days before the time change, and just having them go to bed 15 minutes later than their usual time, which is a lot easier said than done, especially
right.
with Halloween, there. And then for kids who nap, same thing, moving the nap times 15 minutes earlier. So, starting 4 days before, 15 minutes, and then 3 days before, 30 minutes, 4 days before, 2 days before, 45 minutes. Taking those incremental changes.
So we now know that now, so we're ready for 6 months when we go back to daylight saving. But for the families and the kids who, as we've mentioned, have had a crazy Halloween, a fun Friday, what do they do when tonight, all of a sudden, in theory, you get this extra hour, but you got to understand the extra hour really is only an extra hour. Let's just pick a time. Say the kid goes to bed at 9 o'clock, and they went to bed at 9 o'clock last night, and they go to bed at 9 o'clock last night, and both mornings they wake up at 7. Yes, because 2 a.m. occurs twice, they get an extra hour of sleep. But that's not always what happens. Maybe they're staying up later, and because of the time change, they actually wake up an hour earlier. So now they've lost sleep.
Yep.
So what do parents do now? Well,
so if you're taking the more reactive approach and the proactive approach, which I'm on that same boat with my kids, it's really just switching them for that following week and moving their bedtime 30 minutes earlier. Because the hour changed, right? So if they were going to bed at 8 o'clock, right now that the hour changed, 8 o'clock is later, so you want to put them to bed at 7:30, or try to put them to bed at 7:30, for the next four days, and then switching them back over to 8 o'clock.
Let's talk about the daylight, because I think, it's always a shock to anybody, regardless of how we sleep, is we wake up tomorrow morning and, there's light. But then we're driving home at work and it's pitch black at like 5:30. And so what impact does daylight exposure have on the mornings, on children's adjustment, and how can that be incorporated into the routine?
Well, so daylight really is what governs our circadian rhythm. And that circadian rhythm is the internal clock that really tells your body, hey, it's time to wake up. Hey, it's time to go to bed. Right, and certain hormones are secreted to wake you up and to put you to sleep. So that's the biggest issue with the daylight, abruptly changing by 1 hour. So, really the good way of going about that is by just getting more sunlight exposure, which is a lot easier on the weekends, right?
Yeah,
when you're not rushing, to get kids to school, rushing to go to work. So really on the weekends, taking that time to actually spend more time outside, both in the evenings and in the mornings.
Yeah, let's get them off their devices. Let's go play with them outside and get them to adjust. Now, you can find all this information and a replay of this segment online at click2houston.com after the show. Dr. Alvarez, thank you so much for your time. And
thank you for having me.
Again, I know a lot of us are excited about the time change, and we'll see how we react.
We'll see.
Tomorrow.